Is everybody ready?
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you for attending the first virtual A3 annual membership meeting. This is something that was basically thrown upon us by our current COVID situation. Thank you to all the board trustees for showing up. And I hope you're all healthy and well. You know, we're missing a couple people of A3 right now that are kind of behind the scenes. Mackenzie Long, who does the layout and production of TAR. Also, Emma Walker, who's our A3 administrator, kind of Dan's right hand. And we have with us Scott Savage, who is helping us out with all this technical stuff. So that I really appreciate him doing that too. I guess I should do my president's report for you. A3's priority has been to build and maintain Avalanche community through A3 during this whole pandemic. We've been pretty conservative with our money. Thankfully, we have some really loyal sponsors. Please support them. And we've got lots of generous donors. We are in better financial shape than a lot of other nonprofit organizations. And a lot of that has to do with because of Dan Caveney. He was able to get the triple P money application program started. And then we went on to the Small Business Administration and we got that done. This is very important to our success. As part of being conservative with our money, we really cut back. We didn't do any research grants and scholarship programs. Those were put on hold. They will eventually return. But for right now, we wanted to spend our money that would benefit the most people. And we were at least able to fund all of the SAW programs that we had done the previous year. And either they got the same amount or slightly more. We did this because more people would benefit than just for individual scholarships or grants. We've also adopted a free membership extensions for folks that haven't been able to pay their full membership dues. And, you know, eventually we would rather keep them as members than to cut them off. A3 has seen a big growth in membership applications over the last year. I think we've got approximately 125 more members, pro members, and about 100 new affiliates. I'm going to let Katie talk later on the Inclusive Project. That's a big project for all of us to recruit both women and minorities to membership in A3. I really encourage you to read the article on the 2020 census of Avalanche professionals in the current review. Speaking of the Avalanche Review, it is still our flagship printed product. And in addition to, we've started a digital Avalanche Review too, with some articles and some really timely stuff. You can find that at avalanchereview.org.
The Avalanche Review, actually.
Yeah, theavalanchereview.org. A3 has also started distributing our other publications like Book and Snowy Torrents for free online through the A3 website. We've also started these webinars that I think are going to catch on quite well. kind of like mini ISSWs by themselves. Support for our pro training program continues this year. Kate Coons has stepped down as pro training manager, and Eric Engel has just signed in here, and she is the new pro training manager. On the social and media front, social media, during the pandemic, we actually published 2 letters online encouraging folks to be careful in their recreating in the backcountry during this period because of no resources for mountain rescue and that kind of thing. And we actually reached over 70,000 people at one point. And this year, we also had one new award created and awarded. It was the Sue Ferguson Award, which recognizes for the contribution in media communications about snow and avalanche sciences to the public and the avalanche community as a whole. John Branch from the New York Times received this award for his series Snowfall, the Avalanche at Tunnel Creek up there in the Northwest. I'm just delighted that we could have that award. I'd like to really thank all of the Board of Trustees and staff for all their hard work during this pandemic. It's been a tough time. We sometimes would start planning one thing and it'd be thrown out the window 2 days later. So I really appreciate all of your hard work. So I should turn it over to Dan and Peter with the financial. I don't think we'll go into too much detail, but I'll let those 2 guys pick it up.
Okay, Pete and I haven't really had a chance to coordinate on this, so I'll take it at the beginning, and Pete, you should chime in if you feel like I'm missing something. Again, we don't feel like we want to get into the details here, but the general financial news is good. The board was very involved with coming up with a plan to get through what we anticipate will be a year of reduced income for us. And so far, we are doing better than the budget that we put together. So I feel like we're on track to be in the black this year. We should really be grateful to our sponsors who have stuck with us through this period of their own uncertainty. That's been very helpful. Thank you all for your contributions, which have been over budget, and our membership renewals are also over budget. So given that, we've been able to retain, most of our programs that we usually do, even though we're having all these financial uncertainty problems with COVID. But as Halstead mentioned, the board and I agree that we should put the research grant and scholarship programs on hiatus just for this 1 year. Part of the reason is we want to reserve a little bit of money to pay for reduced or free memberships so that people who are suffering from financial hardship can stay with the organization. Right now we have a good bunch of money in the bank. That's a good place to be in at this time of year. Our earnings are indeed front loaded in our fiscal year. So I feel like we're in a good place to finish out the year and come out financially in a good place. Pete, anything to add to that?
Nothing to add, but I'd just like to, say thank you, Dan, for keeping us on, for keeping us financially stable and through unprecedented time. You've done a tremendous job, and we're very, very fortunate to have you aboard.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. And thanks to all the board. It's been a lot of work, but I think it's working out. I think the next item on our agenda, I do not see questions from the attendees, so I'm going to go on. The next item on the agenda is Katie was going to tell us a little bit about her survey. Well, some others have been involved too, and the inclusivity project.
Yeah, so thanks for joining us, everybody. This is a well-attended virtual member meeting, which is, I'm pretty excited to see the numbers. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah, this, kind of came about organically, and even before some of the unrest in our country, that just looking a little bit more into inclusivity and diversity in our organization, and that the avalanche industry at large, beyond just A3. So we developed a survey and put it together. I'm going to try to get my screen shared.
Okay.
You guys see that?
Yep.
All right, so I'd like to thank the other authors, Halstead, our president, Ava, and our former president, John Stimbaris. We all, and the rest of the board, all contributed to this, as well as some folks that we turn to for reviews outside of our A3 board. And I'd like to thank any of you who are watching who participated. We know it was quite an intensive survey, so thank you. We obviously can't do it without your participation. So really, to be able to understand the demographics and kind of focus on inclusivity and diversity, we need to understand who we are as avalanche professionals. So that was the greater purpose of this study, as well as to identify these areas where we could use some improvement in not only diversity, but professional development and working conditions in the avalanche industry. So we distributed the survey through a variety of different channels, and got decent turnout. We had about 500 total complete results from our survey. And we, without a better way to identify what kind of percentage of the avalanche industry that sample was, we used the A3 membership database. And so using that was going to be low, but we reached about 34% of that demographic. So we suffer from a lack of diversity in both gender and ethnic origin. As you can see, males, specifically white males, make up most of our avalanche professionals. We're about 86% male, and you can see, and there's a couple different categories where females have a higher representation, including pro patrol and avalanche education. Avalanche education is actually the highest. And another interesting finding was that women tend to drop out of the industry faster than men. And we'd like to do a little bit more research into this. And these are, there's a lot more going into this. So hopefully in ISSW 2021, when we can see each other in person, we'll be presenting a depth paper on this. So yeah, like I said, ethnic demographics are even less diverse, with 92% of our respondents identifying as white or Caucasian. Another interesting finding that I thought was good for this particular group to share is that avalanche professional worker training. So there is a super high level of commitment from individuals in the avalanche industry, despite lack of employer incentives. So as you can see, there's a significant portion of people who reported that actually no professional avalanche training is required for their job, but hardly anybody reported not having any training. And this represents kind of the change towards professional track training in our industry in the US. And so you can see that here, respondents could input any type of professional training they could in the survey. And there's a lot more to that, but we're gonna leave it there. And so I'd like you, to look at the article in this edition of TAR and join us hopefully for a more in-depth paper next year. Questions on that?
Um, I'm not seeing any questions here. So, oh wait, no, I've got a question from Kyle Sobek, who wonders how many A3 members or pro members are motorized users, Katie?
I do not know that off the top of my head. That wasn't, I don't recall that being a focus of the census. It was just, I think we had motorized guiding in there, but because of the low response rate from motorized groups, we did not, we lumped guiding together into one goal.
Yeah, and we don't collect that information when people join, although maybe we should. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry, I need to just take a minute here and solve a minor technical problem for one of our attendees, and I can't do that and talk at the same time. So, pardon me.
Can I say something, Katie?
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lynn Wolf. I'm the editor of the Avalanche Review. I will say that I'm trying really, really hard to get and present to you all motorized or content that applies to the motorized users. And I can't do that without you all. And so if you have a topic that you'd like to share, you probably know how to get a hold of me at avalanche.review@avalanche.org, plus about 1,000 other ways. But anyway, we're trying really hard to appeal to a broad spectrum of our user groups. Anyway, back to you, Katie.
Well, now up to Ava Halstead. I think John's in our attendance somewhere. If you have stuff you want to talk about.
Well, I think it's really great that Mike Duffy had that article in the new TAR. It kind of really showed me a few things of what, if you're teaching any sort of motorized classes, that you should concentrate on the fact that people are riding as individuals, not as groups, and that they do these things quite different than normal ski tour people do. So, and that they should also be practicing on having multiple burials. I think that's a good thing to be looking at too. Thanks for that, Lynn.
Katie, we have another question. George D'Angelo has asked, does the larger percentage of females in education bode well for other professional segments long-term?
Well, I hope so. We do speculate that education typically is, people tend to see it as a female-dominated industry. So we're wondering, it's all speculation, but we wonder if that has, that females may feel more comfortable as an avalanche educator versus forecasting or patrolling or something that is a little bit more male-dominated. But we do hope that it bodes well. We hope to return to this survey in a few years as well and see how we're improving as an industry, right? This is kind of setting a baseline so we know where we're at. And then going into the future, we can kind of track how things are changing. Hope that answers your question.
Pete Tucker wonders if there are any studies or knowledge of what those female to male ratios looked like 5, 10, or 20 years ago. Do we think we're moving in the right direction to get more females and minorities in this field?
That's a good question. I would think we are moving in the right direction, but to my knowledge, we don't have that data to say one way or another.
Okay. Another question, Anne St. Clair has a similar question to Kyle's, but she's wondering if you could tell us the distribution of disciplines, such as ski, snowmobile, ice climbing, and snowshoeing among A3 professionals. I cannot, because we don't collect that data when people sign up. Katie, do you have any insight into that?
I think that we could, from not from an A3 member standpoint, but from results from our survey, we could get to that data. Do I have it right now at the top of my head? I do not.
Yeah. I have a question from Jane, who says, it seems like one of the reasons that my peers and friends have dropped out is due to the expense of continuing education. And I think there were some questions about how much support employees get from their employers to help them further their educations. Or was that a different survey?
No, that was in this survey. So you are correct. We asked that, and that was there is not a lot of employee incentive or contributions to employees following through with continued professional development. But there's a high level of commitment from people. So you're right that there is a disconnect there with, you know, the many of jobs versus what people are voluntarily going out to improve on their own knowledge without employer incentive. And that is a high hurdle that we all are trying to get over.
Yeah. Mitchell says, understanding the current metrics regarding diversity is important, and I appreciate your sharing. What are the strategies that A3 is employing to expand diversity and inclusion efforts? Are we partnering with other organizations to pool resources? I think Halstead's probably the best person to answer that question since he's been pushing this. So Halstead, do you have anything to say about that?
What the Inclusivity Project just basically has kind of got started, and then we kind of got waylaid by the COVID virus. You know, as far as the social unrest that the country's gone through, we've really tried to become a leader in the backcountry or the avalanche industry, and thanks to Sean, he really pushed a lot for us to be doing this. I think that we are going to have to spend some time trying to figure out what groups we should partner with. And we're seeing this a lot in the backcountry snow sports industry. So I think we're going to be very carefully working at this too. And I know Sean has been kind of working on it too. If he has any comments, please make some comments on that too, Sean. So, you know, I'll let you speak on that part, Sean.
No prepared comments there, Halstead, other than I echo your sentiments that I think it does require all of us to make sure that we're engaging with groups that have similar missions that are also doing the work. I know there are other folks, even with our immediate sphere of avalanche education, that are working towards those goals too. And as this is something that we're working with alongside the pandemic, we have resources that we can diverge in directions to be able to operate. So I look forward to being a continued voice in the conversation and to encourage our membership also to voice their voices in the conversation. That's all I have.
Yeah, I live in Avon, Colorado, and ski often at Beaver Creek, and the Eagle County schools have got kids skiing, you know, as in elementary school, and there's lots of Hispanic, Latino kids out skiing in these programs, and hopefully they're going to see that being a patroller is a pretty cool job. Maybe they might want to follow on to having a career. So hopefully then they'll become an A3 member too. So maybe I can answer on that.
Bill Williamson has his hand up. I think he wants to say something, so I'm going to allow you to talk now, Bill. And you should be able to turn on your mic at this point, but I can't turn that on for you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I just want to tell Katie that both in the late 80s, early 90s, and in the late 90s, early 2000s, I was involved with a survey that was involving primarily ski patrollers. It went through the National Ski Area Association to avalanche workers, and it has a lot of the data that you're looking for. So I'd love to be able to find it. Unfortunately, the earlier stuff is not. It's never been computerized, so it would have to be what I copied over into the later thing. But I do have some stuff, at least on the females versus participation and all that. So
That would be great. Yeah, and I can share my email with you, and we can chat offline about that. I think that all of us working on this project would love some historical data.
That'd be good. Okay, thanks. You guys.
I think we're gonna have to kind of cut this off. And
Yeah, you're right.
Let Lenny make her comments about the
Well,
Avalanche Review.
Actually, if we could do the election first, please. That's
Okay.
So I mean, most candidates were running unopposed, so there aren't big surprises facing us here. There were a few write-in candidates, but none of them got enough votes to be competitive. And you'll be relieved to know that nobody wrote in Donald Trump or Joe Biden. So we can rest assured that the A3 board election didn't skew the results of the national election. So anyway, I'll just read down the winners. Halstead Morris, president. We had about 300 voters. Eric Peich, vice president. Katie Warren, secretary. Sean Zimmerman Wall has moved from at-large pro to governance trustee. Jake Hutchinson will continue as membership trustee. Kate Coons, I don't know if Kate's here tonight. No, I don't see her. She'll be starting as the at-large professional member, so we're glad to be able to retain her since she's left us as the pro training manager. And then our only election where we had two candidates were Jonathan Sheffitz and Michael Halpert were both running for at-large member affiliate. Jonathan has won that election 211 to 62 votes. So congratulations, Jonathan. Thank you, Michael, for running. I know that you're here. And welcome to the new board. We're glad to have you, some as repeats and some in new positions. I'd just like to take this opportunity to encourage all the members to run for the board. You know, we'd like to have your input, and the more diversity we can get on the board, the better. And I think it would be a good thing, and I suspect the rest of the board would agree with me that competitive elections would be good. So, you know, talk to me or any of the board members if you're interested in getting involved as a board member. There will be another election in 2 years. So that's all I had for the board. Any, let's see, any questions or comments? I do not see any. So I guess that's all we have for that. So congratulations, new board members.
Thank you. Lynn, I think we need to have Lenny's comments about the Avalanche Review.
Yep.
All right. Am I on?
Yes, you are.
All right. Hi, everybody. You can't have an A3 meeting without having a beer. So cheers, everybody. It's really nice to see you, even though it's only in a little screen. I'm working really hard on the December Avalanche Review. We went off to layout earlier this week. I've got a really cool feature on islands of safety. You may agree or disagree. You might learn something. Maybe. For the February issue, I actually want to reach out to you all who have been watching any of the virtual SAWs or the ISSW, because I didn't get a lot of those. I've been, if you know me, I've been riding my bike. But if you saw something, especially something science oriented, that's really the focus of the February TAR, I'd like you to tell me, text or email or whatever. Let me know what sparked your interest, and let me know what you'd like to see in the February TAR, and you might get called on to write a event report, kind of like a book report. Anyway, people have been doing a lot of really good thinking and writing about what's going on right now. As avalanche workers, we think a lot about dealing with uncertainty, and I think that really carries us into the modern world. So let me know what you got going on. Bye.
Thanks, Lynn. And
Thank you,
I
Lynn.
neglected to thank Tom Matisse for his service. He's decided not to run for the board again, so I wanted to back up and do that. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah,
We all owe him
thank you.
that gratitude. So, yeah. Okay. Halstead.
I guess I call for adjournment. Who would like to second adjournment?
But let's give our participants a minute to chime in with questions or anything. I'm going to look.
Oh, okay.
Now, speak now or forever hold your peace. I'm watching that question panel. Okay, so I guess peace will forever be held. Okay, go ahead, Halstead.
I call for the adjournment of the first ever annual membership virtual meeting. So who would like to second that?
Seconded.
Katie will second it. Okay, she got her
wait a
hand
minute.
up first. What?
Hang on, I got a hand up. Let me. So Jane, I don't know Jane's surname, but hang on, I'm having a. Okay, so Jane, I'm going to promote you to a panelist because your version of Zoom won't allow you to talk. So it's going to log you out and log you back in, and then you'll be able to ask your question. So we'll wait. And here you go. So let's just let Jane ask her question, and then we can.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was just wondering if there was a deadline from Lynn as far as when she wanted feedback from SAWs, because they're still happening right now.
It would be great to get something by December 15th.
Okay.
That's my deadline for the 39.3.
Okay. Thank you.
Usually, Dan Caveney, I'm calling you on this one. Do we have our deadlines are the same year to year? They're always August 1st, October 15th, December 15th, and February 15th for the respective issues. So,
Okay.
anyway,
Okay. Thank you.
there she is.
Okay. Hi, Jane. Okay, so I think we were in the process of collecting a second for
Yeah,
The adjournment.
Katie had seconded it.
Hey, Dan. Oh, never mind.
okay, so have we adjourned? I'm a little lost here. Sorry, I'm trying to drive this software and I get distracted.
I think we are adjourned.
Okay.